Hi, if you're new to this channel, I'm Phil, co-founder of EasyA, and in today's video we're going to cover how to learn new topics fast. We'll start by going over what they normally teach you in school, for example active recall and spaced repetition, before then coming on to what they don't teach you at school. And by the way, I hope you like the new setup. Now, my inspiration for this video was my time at Cambridge where I studied law, where we had to cover lots of material really fast, probably over 1,000 hours of material in just about 2 weeks. Now, how did we cover so much material in so little time? I mean, there are only 168 hours in a week. We didn't. And we developed techniques of getting to the stage where we had, to all intents and purposes, read it without reading it all. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how we did that. Now, to begin, we'll talk about the common techniques, so spaced repetition and active recall. If you've never heard of active recall before, it's where when you're learning material, you're actively trying to take it in, so actively digesting it. You can contrast it with just rereading a textbook back to front. For example, if you were studying for a biology exam, rereading your GCSE Edexcel textbook from back to front. Now, studies have shown that this is not effective at all, so you shouldn't really bother with doing it. Active recall, on the other hand, is where you take in information and digest it, constantly asking yourself questions about how things work or why things fit together. I'll make up an example of what I might have done while I was at Cambridge studying law. Let's take traffic laws. Everybody knows that you can't park your car on a double red line. But why is that law there? In what situations does it apply? Does it always apply? These are the questions that you want to be asking yourself. These were the questions that I would have been asking myself. For example, will you be allowed to park on a double yellow or double red if there's an emergency? Or what if you're an ambulance and somebody's just having a heart attack on the side of the road? Does the law still apply? These are the types of questions that you'd want to be asking yourself in order to understand material really well. The second method is spaced repetition. And the goal with spaced repetition is not just to understand the material. That's what active recall's for. Spaced repetition is about making sure that you do not forget the material. So it's that element of revision. What spaced repetition means is that rather than just going over your revision once, you're coming back to it over and over again. You might be studying for a maths exam or trigonometry, and you're learning certain rules. What you're going to be doing is coming back to those rules and revisiting them after maybe first starting with revisiting them every couple of days and then coming back to them every couple of weeks. Gradually, you're lengthening the amount of time that you retain the information. You might remember that the first time you go into a class to study a subject for the first time, you don't really understand it, and then you also don't remember it after the first lesson. But then gradually, as you come back to it lesson after lesson, you're starting to retain and understand more and more of the information. And that's really what spaced repetition is about. So spaced repetition and active recall are how you can really start to learn material and learn topics. But let's go back to my original example. How do you cover over 1,000 hours of material in 1 week or 2 weeks? Using spaced repetition and active recall is not really going to help you. So what do you do? The short answer is that you can't really learn everything, so you have to prioritize. These are my 4 tips for prioritizing. First of all, the syllabus is your friend. For GCSE and A-level, the exam boards always release the syllabuses, because this syllabus will tell you exactly what you need to learn. So what you should do is go to the AQA, Edexcel, or whatever exam board you're taking's website and have a look at what the syllabus is. If you're studying for English GCSE, you'll download the English GCSE syllabus for that paper and you'll find exactly what they're going to test you on. If they're going to test you on things, for example, in Macbeth, then you've got to learn certain questions on Macbeth. I mean, a better example might be GCSE biology, where they will tell you exactly the number of things that you need to learn. If you're going through those points, let's say you're stuck on point 3, whatever that may be, maybe it's photosynthesis, and you don't quite remember photosynthesis, then you know very quickly that you have to revise photosynthesis. So rather than reading the whole GCSE biology textbook back to front, what you can simply do is go through the syllabus, pick out the bits that you don't know, and then find those in the textbook. You'll find that this will dramatically increase the amount of time that you are able to spend on the topics you don't need, whilst saving the time you would otherwise have spent going over subjects that you already know. But what if there is no syllabus? What do you do, for example, if you're at university and they haven't released the syllabus? Or let's say you're studying for 11+, and again, the school who sets your exams has not released the syllabus. In that case, the crucial point is that you've got to go to the unwritten syllabus. The unwritten syllabus is that which is in the exam papers themselves, because you can see through the exam papers that are set every year what is going to come up and what usually comes up. For example, if you're studying for exam in 2020 or 2021, you're going to want to have a look at the exam papers that came out in 2019, 2018, and 2017. And by looking at the past 3 years of exam papers, you'll be able to see what types of questions come up. So there you have it. Without a syllabus per se, you've got an unwritten syllabus that shows you what really comes up and what actually comes up in practice. This is even helpful if there is a syllabus. What may be written down in the syllabus is not necessarily the same as what the examiners like to test. Which brings us on to our third point, the examiner's secret. Now, the examiner's secret is that what is actually written on the syllabus and what they can test you on is not always what they do actually test you on, because examiners love to test certain topics way more than others. Some topics are just not that easy to test, so they don't do it. So if it's not going to come up on the exam, why would you learn it? You can learn for the sake of learning, of course, that's great. But if you're just studying for a test, there's not really any point. And how you find out what the examiners like to test is by looking at past papers, seeing what comes up. And you'll find that similar questions come up year in, year out. This is especially true for GCSE. And our fourth point, and it's very useful as well, is not necessarily to rely on the exam boards themselves, but to rely on your peers. Ask the year above about what came up in last year's exam, or what they think usually comes up in the exams. They've been through it before. They've taken the exams, so they can really help you. So that's it for today's video. In conclusion, is it possible to learn new topics fast? Absolutely. You can learn new topics by using active recall and spaced repetition. And these will really help you to ingrain knowledge in your mind so that you can retain it over long periods of time and actually understand it so that you can answer complex questions during the exam. But is it always possible to learn everything? Not really. And is it even desirable? Probably not. You could spend a long time learning a lot of material, but at the end of the day, if you've forgotten it before the exam because you haven't had enough time to do spaced repetition and apply that technique, then what's the point? You might as well just have been on holiday rather than spending the time learning that material. The ultimate question is, can you get top marks without actually doing all of the work that they set you in school, without reading all of the reading lists that they've set you at university, without going through those meters and meters of books, pages and pages of material? Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. You just need to be smart about it. And how do you do it? Use a combination of the techniques that you've already been taught in this video and that you may have heard about before. Spaced repetition and active recall. Those will help you to learn topics and keep them in your mind. But at the same time, be like a ninja. Be really brutal in the amount of time that you actually spend on certain topics. Don't spend time on topics that you won't need to study. Don't spend time on topics that won't come up in the exam. Don't spend time going over topics that in reality they only tested once in the past 10 years, right? So even if it is on the syllabus, you don't necessarily have to learn it back to front. Be ruthless in your prioritization and you'll find that you'll get great marks by putting in just a fraction of the effort. So that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have particular revision tips that work really well, make sure to share them with everybody in the comments below. Like this video if you want to see more, and make sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching everybody, and bye for now.